Like,
All right, dog. We're recording right now. Six-pack Lapadat. Got Nathaniel Massiah, and we were just talking offline for a hot minute. You were talking about the balance and some of the choices you made when you were in school to become an influencer, and for everyone just catching up. You just won the junior world championships in the 93s, which is probably the hottest division in powerlifting right now, the 93s on the
God,
men's side at least.
God.
It's insane. It's
Yeah,
insane. So of all the weight classes, you're in a good one. And you were absolutely killing it in terms of, I mean, from Gymshark to My Protein, you doing some collaboration videos on YouTube with from this, the world's strongest brothers and strongman to speed to a ton, like it's insane the content you're putting out in absolutely like millions of views. Some of these videos, and you're living up to the hype. You started off a influencer, and we're going to get into all this, but and there's a lot to unpack. We got 90 minutes, so we'll do our best. But you started off as an influencer, and God bless. It's so good that you're actually turning out as a powerlifter with talent. It would be great even if you weren't top end, but the fact that you're now a world champion, it is like perfect for the sport, perfect for you, and perfect for Britain. I mean, your rise aligns with Britain's rise in the juniors because Britain took number one
we
at the
won this year,
juniors.
man. First time we won the men's. Crazy.
It's great. Like there's a rising tide in Britain, period. And that tide is going to carry over into the open, obviously. And then you got influencers like yourself that are just blowing up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's crazy in the UK right now, and I think everything, as you said, is really aligned. It's aligned as far as powerlifting. We're having tons of new talent coming up, and it's aligned as far as social media. And I think the two are intertwined. I think so. We'll get into my journey or everything like that, but I think partially, there has to be like a kind of a model, like somebody who does something and then that kind of says to other people that, this is a viable option for me. And I think that myself through social media helped a lot of people, like young guys from London or the UK as a whole, feel like this is something that they can do. And then guys like myself, Joey, other guys, Nonso, is inspiring other kids to be like, okay, I can actually be a powerlifter. And those two things coming together, being able to be a powerlifter, and then with social media, being able to do it, almost do it professionally, because now
Mm.
I'm thankfully being able to be supported by my sponsors and etc. Those two things coming together just mean great things for the UK, and I think powerlifting as a whole as well.
How did this journey start for you? We know right now, as it stands, you're now an IPF world champion in juniors, and you have one more junior year, correct?
One more, yeah.
And you're already at 845.5. The rest of the world's open is in the late 800s. You could easily make that gap, that bridge that in your last year of juniors. So you're projected to enter into the open right up into the lion's den because it's packed in
Like
there with lions.
six guys or so could win in the 93s in the Open. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's anybody's game, and it's a revolving door. But how did you end up here? Because you really became an influencer first, and
Yes,
then and
then
then you
turn.
just and thank God you had the talent, man. And thank
Yeah.
God the drive and everything worked out.
It all came together. All right, so the journey started for myself in 2017. So I was 14 in 2017, and I was someone that loved consuming YouTube content. I watched a lot of the guys, not just fitness, other videos also. And so I just decided, as just a bit of fun, to make my own YouTube channel. Now, at this particular point, it actually didn't have much to do with fitness because I hadn't quite started my fitness journey yet. These videos revolved around everything I was doing. In fact, my first video was a hair tutorial. People like my hair, you see, it's like quite curly and stuff. People like to know like how I did that. So that was my first ever video, right? It's so random, okay? So then that was in April of 2017. In September of 2017, when I was 14, I just decided that I was going to commit myself to the gym. I'd consumed a bunch of fitness content before that. I'd even gone to the gym before that because I had a leisure center. It'd be the equivalent to you guys' like local rec center.
Yeah.
They were giving out like memberships from like 11, 12, you could get one, but you could only go within certain times, like within, I don't know, 12 to 3 or like after school, like 3 to 6, you were allowed to go. So I'd started already, but in September 2017, that's when I committed myself. So because I already had a YouTube channel, started making a few videos there. So this continues for about 2 years. into mid 2019. So around this time in the UK, when you are 16, you do your big exams. We're called GCSEs. Have you heard of them? Those are like
No.
they're kind of like our SATs, but we take them like 2 years
Okay.
before Americans would, basically.
Okay.
So during this, so one thing to know about myself also, and that a lot of people in the UK know, that I wasn't just fitness focused, I was also very educational focused as well. So I would make videos about school also. So during this time, I'm making videos about fitness, about school, other stuff. And then when it comes up to GCSEs, I managed to get, so the highest grade you can get is a 9, and a 7 equates to an 8 equates to an A star, and a 9 is above an A star. So that's the hardest grade to get. So in my GCSEs, I got all 9s. So
Holy
this,
shit, man.
yeah, bro, yeah, yeah.
Dude,
So
what's going on?
so that video went viral because people are just looking at I not like I wasn't some kind of geeky nerdy guy who like looks wise who you would assume maybe would get all 9s. So I don't know what it was, but when I posted a video about that, it went viral and schools were showing it in the UK. When I get stopped in the UK, there's about a 50% chance the first video those guys have seen was my all 9s. I'm saying in the UK it was like a big thing. In fact, when I was younger, I went on a date with a girl, right? And this girl knew me on social media, knew I was. But then I said something about the video, and she went, "Oh, you're like all 9s guy. Like there's Nathaniel, and then there's all 9s guy. People know all 9s guy. Like it's a separate thing. It's like a separate entity."
Here's the thing. You were like operating life in God mode. You're like smart, handsome, charismatic, and extremely athletic. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, that is.
Not even fair.
I just tried. All it is, everyone that knows me knows that I just tried my best in whatever I do. That's just the number one thing. I just tried my best, and my parents played a big part in that because my dad, he was obviously pushed me into not pushed me, but encouraged me into sports, academics, etc. But his thing was never like the you win or you're nothing. It was
Mm.
do your best and he's happy. That was so I credit my parents for that quite a bit. But yeah, so that video goes viral, and that basically kickstarted my fitness career because essentially I had a bunch of fitness videos on my channel. I had about 2,000 subscribers by this point. So I didn't have a load of traction, but then this video goes viral. My previous videos start going viral. Then I start making more gym content, and those videos start doing really well. So now within the space of a month, I became like a big name in the UK. I'm making fitness content, and now I've gone from a school kind of general influencer, fitness influencer, to straight up fitness influencer. But I didn't lose that school aspect to it. So the kind of sub niche that I almost I wouldn't say create, but kind of created in the UK was like school and gym content together. That is what I was kind of known for. Those are the videos that I posted on YouTube. So now we get into where in the UK, so you do those exams at 16, and then from there you have a choice. You can go into what's called sixth form, which is basically just continue in school, but that's the pathway that generally leads to university. You can go to college, which is kind of a slightly watered down version of that, or you could go and do an apprenticeship or like start going, if you want to do a trade, like start getting into that, like plumbing or whatever. So I go to sixth form and I'm making loads of videos during this time about me balancing the gym with sixth form, etc. But I always already had a talent for strength, particularly the deadlifts. So I would post videos of me doing deadlifts and they would always go viral because just to go through the ages. So this is prior to proper powerlifting training. At 16, I hit a 260 kilo deadlift. At 17, I hit 300. And at 18, I hit 320. Now, these were
Yeah.
deadlift bar, not at comp standard, but they were still crazy numbers, especially for that time in my age. So these videos
Yeah.
will go viral. So I was already kind of known for strength, but I just didn't compete. I actually tried to compete in 2020, but I didn't sign up for the comp in time. You know, sometimes you sign up for a competition and all the spots are gone. And then
Right.
also lockdown hit. So that was gone. So I never competed in a competition. So this brings us to 2021. In 2021, I get my results and then I'm off to Loughborough University, which I don't know if you've heard of, but it's like the biggest sports university in the UK. A bunch of sports teams train there, and it's a pretty big deal. I was really happy to get into Loughborough, and I was studying sport and exercise science. And about 2 weeks into Loughborough University, I hit 100,000 subscribers. So at university, you can imagine it was like a pretty big deal. And I was, yeah, it was a pretty cool time in all honesty. It was a pretty, because I was
I
still
bet.
like, I was an 18, 19-year-old kid. I got 100,000 subscribers. You know, like people know me. I'm going to parties. People know me, and it was cool. I kind of miss those times. Like,
I
kind of
bet, man.
yeah,
You're like you're quite into the real world. Yeah, I
literally,
mean you.
literally. It was pretty like I don't take those times for granted, man. It was pretty cool, but very soon into starting university. Oh, and to backtrack, in 2020, I got sponsored by Gymshark, and I was their youngest sponsored athlete at the time. I was
Yeah,
17
man.
at the
How
time.
did this
So,
happen? How did that happen? Just from obviously everyone already knew you anyways,
so
and
this I
you're
had of
so
media.
unique to be not only athletically gifted, but also, I mean, I don't want to say genius, put too much on you, but all nines, it sounds
Well,
like you're a freaking genius, man. It sounds like you have, this is crazy. This is like out of a comic book almost, right?
so you know how you have those kind of like social media like zero to hero stories where like someone was like got bullied in school and all this stuff, and then they turn to social media and then they want to gain a bunch of followers and then it's a big life change. If you were to ask the people that I grew up with, they're not surprised that I got to the point that I'm at now. Not just because of the stuff that you said, but also because everyone knows Nathaniel like works really hard. Everyone knows that I've
Mm.
always been that guy that just works really hard at whatever it is. I mean, I played instruments, I played the drums, I did a bunch of other stuff. Like I just, it's, as I said, I credit it to my parents. They just like allowed me to kind of do lots of different things, and yeah, I have to give a lot of credit to them. But yeah, so 2017 gets sponsored by Gymshark. So now coming into university, like say 2 weeks in, I'm sponsored by Gymshark, sponsored by My Protein, 100,000 subscribers. I'm probably getting the most views I've ever got. I could post like a university day in the life where I basically like cook a meal, go to the gym, and go to a party, and it gets 100,000 views on YouTube. Like I was on something else in this point. I don't even touch the views I get now. I don't get the views I used to get then. And I got more subscribers now, but still, that was a special time. People in the UK would know that that time, like I was on my stuff. So if you got to think of all of that, right, and then waking up at 9 a.m. for a lecture, it's just like
Tough, man. It's not
it's
even,
tough.
it's like it,
It's tough. It was so tough.
you're like Batman. You're living a double life. At
Yeah, no,
night,
that's how.
you're,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was like that. It was like that. So I remember about a month into university, or maybe even less, I call my mum and I tell her what I'm thinking about it, right? And then she understood. Then I get a call from my dad, basically like, "Yo, you're
Oh,
not
that's
dropping."
different. That's
That
different,
is
huh? Mom
that
and dad is different.
is so different. So that pretty much went away pretty quick. But then I went to Dubai with one of my friends that's an influencer in like early 2022. And when I got back from that trip, I was like, yo, this is not happening, man. So I sat my parents down, told them, laid out all the reasons, and they understood. So, but they wanted me to finish the year. Like, you need to finish the year. So, all right, I'll finish the year. So I finished first year. I get a 2-1. I do good. Bear in mind, I probably wasn't even putting in the most work. So I would say I'm very smart, but as academics go on, the more that just the work you put in is the most important factor. Like you can work yourself to a really good level, even if you don't have the craziest natural intellect, versus even if you do have the craziest natural intellect, if you don't work, you're not just automatically going to do good.
I
That's
think it'd be
yeah,
fair to say you were more than a little distracted.
yeah.
Given,
Oh,
I mean, come on, man. That's
even
fair.
yeah, even by so when I tell you about sixth form, I didn't get the same results that I did at GCSE again because I was getting days off school to go to Gymshark Lifting Club and film videos. I was going home in between my classes, filming and editing a video, then going home, posting it to YouTube, going back to school. That was my focus was not fully on school, but I still did well enough to get into one of the top universities. So that I am happy about. But like to think that my academics isn't going to slightly fall off when I'm basically running a full-time job and making full-time money basically at that point as well, at like 18, it's not realistic to think I could fully commit myself to the two. So I finished the year last year. And oh, sorry, to backtrack one more time, how I started powerlifting was at university. So there is quite a fairly big powerlifting scene in the universities in the UK. And we have what's called British University Championships, which obviously leads to World University Championships in the IPF. So when I get to Loughborough, obviously people know me from social media and they know I'm strong. They're like, you should join the powerlifting team. So I joined the powerlifting team. I do a regional and then I do British University Championships and I actually come second. I was only beat by, so with British University Championships, it's almost unlimited. It's pretty much unlimited age. So you could be a 27-year-old master's student, PhD student, going against an 18-year-old freshman. Like 18-year-old fresh, it's pretty deep. So do you know Dapo, deadlift connoisseur?
Yeah,
He's
yeah. The deadlift
yeah.
connoisseur for sure. I've
Exactly.
reposted him.
He did box. Bear in mind, he's the senior 93 champion in the UK at that point.
Oh,
He decided
damn.
to box because he was still at university, and he's the only one that beats me. So I would have won that year if not for him, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's no shame in losing to the senior 93 champion. It's like,
No, hell no. Especially that early in your career.
that was my second comp ever.
Yeah, that's
But it
crazy.
was a huge result that I came second. And but weirdly enough, after that, it actually made me not want to do powerlifting because of the pressure. So bear in mind, as I said, 100,000 subscribers, all these people watching me, and I'm in my early stages of competing. So any mess ups, anything like that, it's going to be public. So I have no time to much grow. So I felt the pressure from that, and I just kind of drifted away from powerlifting a little bit. But then at the end of that year, well, in the summertime when university finishes, after that, I decided to drop out. So I continue making content, doing what I'm doing. And then we get to the beginning of 2023. So beginning of 2023, I meet Joey. You know Joey?
Joey Shaw, yeah, he was on the podcast too.
Yes, sir, yes. So I meet Joey in 2023 at a little, like a My Protein event. And I asked him, I was like, yo, like, what do some of the like powerlifter guys in the UK like think of me? And he basically told me they didn't think like very much of me. They thought I was just kind of like a bit of an influence.
Shit, he cut you straight.
Yeah, he cut it straight. He cut it straight. So that cut me deep. I won't lie. That cut me deep.
Yeah.
So the next day, I speak to my friend CJ, who was coached by this guy called Owen, who is now currently my coach, Owen from EST Barbell. And I reach out to him. I send him my consultation form. We have a call, and at that point, I'm like to him, like, my goal is to kind of be like one of the top guys, maybe in the UK, and see maybe any internationals after that. And funny, my coach tracked it from that day to when I won Worlds was 591 days.
Oh,
591 days.
damn.
First consultation call with my first proper powerlifting coach to winning Worlds. So that's a pretty crazy stat there.
And the mental shift. So initially, and I totally get, here's the thing. When you start off as an influencer and you already have a following and everything that goes with it, to jump into a new endeavor after the fact in a public one that the world is watching, it would be extra pressure. It would be like, you don't get to learn in the darkness.
Messed up. Like, for example, at that competition, I shouldn't talk about it all the time, but if you've heard of a lifter called Jack Hopkins, he's right now in the 105s, but he was in the 93s then. I competed against him at European Championships last year, and he came second. He was the guy then. So that year, he was a sub-junior, and then he came into juniors. The sub-junior worlds that year, he won best lifter that year. That was 2021, Jack Hopkins. And he came into that competition. So he was due to beat me, but he had a bad competition, and he actually bombed out on deadlifts. Now, if that had happened to me, I think the social media reaction would have been, but he did have a big following, so it's not the end of the world. And it's only a select few people that remember it. But if that happened to me, that would have been a very public failure. So those kind of things are what made it a little bit difficult in the beginning. But once I'd taken that year off of university and it's like, okay, what am I going to do now? I think powerlifting was kind of the perfect thing to kind of fill that void, because I'm used to balance. Like, I don't want to sound like condescending, but I feel like social media itself is not that hard in comparison to a 9-to-5 job or things like that, right? So I'm used to balancing it with either school, university, etc. So I kind of needed something to fill that void, and that became powerlifting. So we come to last year now, and I do a qualifier comp, and then I do junior nationals. And obviously for international selection, generally speaking, you need to come like top 2 to just kind of get your spot. And I didn't make it. I came third at nationals last year, beaten by Nathan, who went on to win Worlds, and Jack Hopkins. But there was light at the end of that tunnel, because Nathan told me he wasn't planning on doing European Championships, and Jack told me he wasn't planning on doing Worlds. So there was a spot for me on either one of those potentially. So, but that was still a little bit of a setback because I wanted to just qualify anyway. I didn't want it to have to be, okay, these guys have dropped out. So did that last year. And then after that, put my head down and worked. And then that brings us to World Championships last year. Don't know if you want to touch on that first, but
Yeah, sure.
but
Let's
yeah, so
talk about
Worlds
it.
last year, came in 8th in ranking, in nominations for that competition, and no one really expected big things to be. In fact, I remember you did a post competition, like a recap of it, and I don't think at that point you really knew me like that. And in all honesty, why would you? Because I was 8th in nominations and I did manage to come 3rd, but prior to that, you wouldn't have known me like that. So I
Right.
remember some of the conversation centering around guys like Yulong Lee and guys like that. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, I remember.
actually beat this guy, man. Why are they talking about this guy and not talking about me as much? But you gotta
Yeah.
go through the processes that, like, you gotta establish yourself. So I understood that, but that was still something that I used going
Yeah,
into Europe.
you got to have the fire. Like it
That's
is on the come up. It is that like you guys will be talking about me next year.
yeah, that's
Everyone will know who I am next year in this
exactly what
space.
it is. That's exactly what it is. So yeah, that world, I go in ranked 8th, and I had some. There was a little bit of a mental struggle going into that because you got to think that I had kind of done a little bit of a speed run anyway. My first 2 competitions, boom, I'm second at University Championships, and then I come 3rd at Nationals, and now I'm going into Worlds ranked 8th, where I feel like there's a possibility I could come like 5th. So that was mentally hard, and I was like, I almost felt like I was going there to fill up the numbers, but my coach just made sure that I put that out of my head, realized that anything can happen on the day, and anything did happen on that day. A lot of people had not the competitions that they thought they were going to, and I had a good competition. So I ended up coming 3rd at Worlds last year, which was more of a like shock and result of me doing that than I'd say Nathan, because again, I'm 8th in nominations. This is my first year doing it international. People weren't expecting this. So I that and kind of initially kind of just put my name out there a little bit. And the thing is, because you powerlifting is its own world, even compared to just the influencer world. Because I remember at that
100%.
championship, I've got a lot of followers, right? But guys like Hamza and Listus were getting stopped by guys at Worlds way more than me, because people don't know me like that. I'm just an influencer, and a lot of times powerlifters are mainly consume powerlifting content and not as much mainstream fitness content.
Dog, I'll raise my hand right now and say like there are fitness influencers. I don't know about them, and
Exactly.
it's
They can have
not.
a million followers.
Yeah,
Do you know
but
what I mean?
powerlifting. If you're a powerlifter of any significance, like I know who you are. If you
Exactly.
start like you're not flying under the radar, but fitness influencers, the world of fitness is huge. And to
Exactly.
your point, it's weird how we have certain pockets, and in powerlifting, somebody with 10,000 followers but is a world champion is going to get stopped before
Exactly.
somebody with a lot more,
Exactly.
right?
Like Rondell, say Rondell, Bob, Perk. Those guys don't have crazy amounts of followers, but you go if they go to any powerlifting gym or any
Yeah, oh yeah,
competition, they get mobbed.
yeah, oh yeah,
So,
for sure.
so yeah, that was last Worlds, and yeah, ended up coming 3rd, which is an enormous result for me. And I think that's what kind of kickstarted the thing. Like, you know what, I can do this on the international stage. Because before that, so I walk into the warm up room of that World Championships, and I literally like poop my pants. Like I looked at everyone, and I'm like, bro, there's guys from Japan, there's guys from Singapore, there's all these guys, and I'm just some kid from South London trying to do my first international. Like, what's going on? Like, I literally verbally said to my coach, like, yo, I'm nervous. And he just like calmed me down, one little attempt at a time, and we did well. So then it was European Championships, Junior European Championships last year. And now like people were like, all right, cool, like Nathaniel, he can do something. He had a good performance at international. But some guys still thought Jack Hopkins was going to beat me, and because he was the stronger lifter up until that point. He beat me at nationals. And as I said, best sub junior, best lifter overall at sub junior at World. That's a
Mm.
big title, and I've got to come up and do my thing. So I get there and I win. I won European Championships last year, and that properly solidified it. Like, okay, this guy has gone from an influencer to European champion in 10 months. So
She's
that,
crazy.
yeah, that was that. That was that last year. And then yeah, do we want to, obviously I know we're gonna get into this worlds, but obviously I had the UK Arnold and Nationals earlier this year, where this whole kind of saga to worlds now kind of started, and led to a lot of like growth in me. But do you want to touch on one thing at a time, or where are you going with this?
Well, let's pull back 1 second before we get into this year, which is a huge in terms of your growth as an athlete. This year has been monumental. And if
Yeah.
anybody previously, some people might be like, look at, um, a junior on the rise is one thing. We've seen that sometimes, but you hitting 845.5 in the short span you have and under IPF international standards, no less, that can't be overlooked. So now
In a
you're just
battle, in a
fresh.
three-way battle.
What's that? Sorry.
I said in a three-way battle. It's
Yeah,
hard
right
to
down.
put up a big total in a battle because you're playing
Right.
it safe.
Yeah, and in the three, so you had pressure coming on you, and it came down to the last deadlift to take it, which is also you're battle tested now. And it's good. It's easy to do certain things when no one's around, but when you're
Exactly.
battle tested as well, yeah, for sure. But on the way to all this, a lot of things on the influencer side are happening, which is ratcheting up both your exposure, but also the pressure maybe you're feeling. Like on the way to all this huge year you just had, and just like the junior world title you just won, how the heck did all these videos come to pass with Speed, the Stoltmans, in all of this? How does that even start occurring for
So
you?
basically, I got to give a lot of praise to Gymshark. So not only was I a sponsored athlete, but I think I was someone who they found was quite marketable and easy to work with. Those are the main things. Like there was probably certain people I know that there are people who they worked with in the past who maybe, let's say, for example, let's say 2022, I did a video with Francis Ngannou. I did
Yes,
a
that's
yeah,
another one I want to ask you about,
yeah, yeah,
dude. I'm a huge UFC guy.
yeah. That was crazy, man. Biggest and most intimidating human I've ever seen in person. You have to see it in person because he's like imagine if Russ was 6'6". Like, imagine that. And he doesn't even lift weights like that. This is almost naturally how. No, he doesn't. The stuff he's not doing proper hypertrophy training. He's almost just naturally built like this. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. And I punched him. So in the video, it was meant to be a What's funny is I made a video out of this, but the video that was meant to be for never actually got filmed, never actually got fully made. But basically, the premise of the video was that I punch him in the stomach, right, and my arm breaks, right. So I have to actually punch him. So I punch him in his stomach, and it feels like hitting a
Feel
brick
like,
wall.
do you tell them ahead of time? Listen, man, don't get mad. This is
Nah,
all part of it. Just keep
bro,
stay cool, man.
mate, he's been hit by Stipe. Okay, there's nothing I can do to this guy. I was
Sure.
not worried about hurting him. I
How does
was not
well, that's
worried.
fair. But how does this how does this get arranged for
Yeah.
the average person? How the fudge did you even
So,
this is the
so
UFC champ?
basically, these brands will get, say, they'll have a campaign. I'll use Speed, for example. So Gymshark's they've got their Black Friday they've got coming up. So all right, cool. We're gonna promote our Black Friday. Let's try and get a big influence. And obviously, Speed at that time was like the biggest streamer, and still is, in all honesty, probably. So they get Speed for it, and then it's like, all right, cool. We kind of need one of our guys to kind of show our Gymshark representation and also steer the ship with this. Like in the Speed video, I was kind of like I was in the video, but also kind of directing it like, okay, we're doing the deadlifts first, we're gonna do this next, and other stuff like that. So they need a guy for that. And in terms of when it came to stuff like that, I was pretty much their guy that they use, especially then,
Mm.
because as I said, I was easy to work with. I'm quite articulate. In these situations, I didn't have an ego because I'm a fan of these guys anyway. So I'm not here to make, like, for example, the Speed video, we were deadlifting, and the clip that went viral from there is Speed trying to do a deadlift and pretending to poop his pants. That's the video that went viral for there. So in that moment, yeah, I could have, say, tried to show how impressive I am at deadlifts and tried to load up 6, 7 plates, but I didn't do that. I knew the video was about him, so we're focusing on him. So I think those kind of things, just making yourself easy to work with and being marketable, are the things that brands are going to. But some of these collabs, all through Gymshark. Some of the other ones, like you might not know his name, but I did a video with this guy called Kit Connor. He is a huge
Right.
actor right now in the Netflix show Heartstopper and other stuff. He was in the Elton John movie that they did, and
Okay. Yeah.
he's really big, huge actor in the UK. He was just a fan of my content. I had no idea, and he's from my
Crazy.
local area as well. I'm from South London, so he reaches out to me, and we just filmed a video, and that went stupid viral. And I still get Kit Corner fan pages liking my posts to this day. And if you search my name on Google, those will be a lot of the ones that will come up because there were tons of articles off of that video. So a lot of these collabs I got through Gymshark, but some of them I got myself. Because also the UK scene is not enormous. So some of the just general fitness names are also just quite known generally speaking, especially when I do videos of, say, Speed and these guys. That's when some of the more mainstream guys maybe are going to pay attention to what I'm doing because I'm with mainstream names anyway. So yeah, big thanks to Gymshark for some of those, a lot of those, and some of them were also done myself. Or it could be a Gymshark kind of brought me with that person, and then off the back of that, I film a video. So I just did one with Akinfenwa. He was the big footballer. He was like, he got famous because you know KSI.
Of course, yeah.
I used to make FIFA videos, and Akinfenwa had the highest physical rating in FIFA. So he got famous off of KSI making videos about that. And when I was younger, everyone knew who Akinfenwa was. So I did a shoot for Gymshark about a couple months ago, meet Akinfenwa. Then off the back of that, I speak to his manager, get him for a video. So it's all together. But I have to say thank you to Gymshark and stuff for that. But it also does come down to me as a person, because if you make yourself easy to work with, then people are going to want to use you. Whereas if you are egotistical or you're hard to work with, they're not going to want to use you. And I was a young kid, and I always said yes. So even maybe some things that I didn't want to, some videos that I maybe didn't want to go to or stuff, I would still say yes. So that gives you some brownie points.
You recognizing, we're going to get back to the Francis Ngannou video, but I just wanted to, because from the foreground, you want to know what's going on in the background. Like, how does this even happen? And it makes sense. Like so initially, you have all this talent doing your own videos, and Gymshark recognizes. Gymshark hops on board. Now Gymshark is like, we see talent in this guy. And they start putting you in situations, and then you on your end recognize opportunity. So even if you're not filming a video with somebody, you could say, hey, excuse me, why don't we exchange contacts, maybe shoot something afterwards? And you become, like you said, easy to work with. Let's work together on this project, creative, be humble. This doesn't have to be all about me, but understanding there could be a win-win involved. Okay, this is making sense, because I've, to an extent, same deal, doing the media thing on my end. I come into contact with a lot of different people, and off the back of that, opportunities open up, and just recognizing that. But so Francis Ngannou, who was this? Was this Gymshark? And are they telling you, listen, we're thinking of a video and there's going to be punches involved?
So so that was chance. That was chance. So I go to the Gymshark lifting club to film a completely different video one day. And then I see the guy who manages Gymshark's like MMA or their fight sports guys, because they got different managers for like different things. Yeah. So Francis Ngannou is actually a Gymshark athlete. So like you see him in his fights, he'll have like a Gymshark logo and stuff on him. So he's an athlete, right? So I see his manager in the lunch area at Gymshark HQ. I'm speaking to him, etc. And he's like, oh, next week actually we got Francis Ngannou coming down. I'm like, oh, that's sick. And then I think later on the day, he comes to me. He's like, you know what? We're going to get you for this video. We'll get you. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. This is crazy. So then, the next week I come back for another shoot, and then we do the shoot with him. And it is a little bit of a shame that it never came into fruition, the actual video that they had planned. But another thing I would do is, if I did a video for Gymshark, I would always make sure I filmed my own video. Yes. So that I could get some traction for it. So the Speed one, as soon as they called me, I called my camera guy. We got up to Manchester. I thought, do you know the show Top Boy? Top Boy in the UK, Netflix?
Dude, I am so into Top Boy. It's not funny. I got the North American accent, and we're dropping the in it and the bruvs and the whole night. Dude, I love Top Boy.
There we go. So you know the main character, Deshane?
Of course.
I did a video of him through Gymshark, and so
he raps in real life. Like he's like, I mean, I started really going down that rabbit hole of same with Kano, who plays Sully.
Sully, yeah.
I've seen videos of those dudes spitting in the whole nine.
Yeah, he was in So Solid Crew, who was they have a big song in the UK, 21 Seconds. I got 21 Seconds, I got that. It's like a big song in the UK.
Man, I'm so jealous of all these experiences you had in life. I love Top Boy. But dude, okay, we gotta go into some of these stories, man, because this is crazy.
But we'll do Ashley Waters. So Gymshark, I don't know. I think they were just doing a campaign with him or something like that. And then they again asked me to do it. And in all honesty, I think that I have a unique background as well. There aren't a ton of young black guys from London that have been able to get themselves to the point that I'm at, in all honesty. So in that situation, although it maybe serves as a barrier to entry, if you do end up making it, now you kind of have a monopoly because you're like the only one. So when it's like Ashley Waters and Speed and these guys, in all honesty, the only person that it would almost make sense to pair these guys with that's on Gymshark's roster is me, because me and Ashley Waters will kind of have shared experiences, same demographics, stuff like this. So we filmed this video. We go down to his house. I went to his house, and he's got a little gym in the back of his garden. So we filmed this video in the back of his gym, it was a video for Gymshark. And I actually had some problems with this because obviously now when you're working with celebrities, it's a different ball game because there's stuff you can post, can't post, etc. So I filmed my own video of this experience and just stuff with him, asking some questions and stuff. I in fact also asked him if I could be on season 3 as even like a little extra or something.
Fuck yeah, you do. Dog, you better recognize the opportunities. Make me anything, a goon or whatever, just in the background.
Bro, I'll be in the back, man. I'll do anything. I think in season 2 they had a gym scene. Like, bro, if you're in the back doing some bicep curls, man, I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll do it,
Sully,
man.
at one point, Sully walked into a basement gym and beat up a couple guys with.
Bro, if you need me bench pressing, I'm there, man. I'm there. But yeah.
Let me ask you one quick. Let me ask you one quick question because I want to get to all these too. This is amazing, but what I like is Gymshark will send you to shoot their content, and they allow you to bring your own videographers and shoot your own content with no restrictions. Just be like, shoot it. Are you allowed to post it after theirs drops first? Like, there's got to be some kind of understanding on it.
Like that, stipulations like that. But the Ashley Waters one was a pain in the ass because his management was not feeling it. Because they're like, yo, we got paid for the Gymshark one. We didn't get paid for your one. So then I make my video and say it's 10 minutes. Then they're like, it can't be any longer than 2 minutes. I'm like, 2 minutes? So I just said, fuck it, and posted a 5-minute video. I just left it up to God. I said, fuck it. And nothing came of it, in all honesty. So I'm still fine. I haven't been, I don't know, sued or anything like that. But right, I was a 19-year-old kid, man. I was chancing it.
Fuck it. Who's going to drop a diss track on you that makes you big? Come at me. Come at me.
No. And the funny thing is, now, some of these experiences, all these guys still follow me. So Ashley Waters still follows me. Speed still follows me. Yeah. Speed still follows me.
So he's good with it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't give a shit. He won't give a shit. It's his management who would say something.
It's his management because their job is to get the most out of their talent.
Fair.
So if they get paid for one thing, they're not going to do another thing unless they get paid. So all of this was fair, and I understand. Right. When I did the video with Kit Connor, that was another pain in the ass. He did me a big help because his management actually wanted me to take the video down, but he wasn't going to let that happen. So I had to take down the pictures. The pictures did good, but I had to take them down because that was like at least take something down. Basically, I had to take those down, and then they didn't like that. I basically got him to inadvertently promote my Gymshark code in the video.
Oh shit! How'd you do that? Sneaky, man.
I was like, because obviously his big thing is that everyone has a crush on him, like all the girls and everything have a crush on him. So I was like, all right, if you use code Nate, Kit will give you a kiss. Is that true? And then he's like, yeah. So that clip is going like on TikTok and stuff like that. So that month, my code usage went through the roof. I made money that month, and so obviously his management was not liking this. So they told me to take out the Gymshark thing in the link in the description and stuff like that. So obviously you do skate a fine line sometimes, but that's just me being hungry and ambitious. I'm gonna try and do everything I can do to just and this is not obviously me and Kit are actually friends. So this is not I'm not trying to use him, but it's we're filming a fitness video. It's a little joke, that type of things. And everything else that they wanted me to do, I made sure that I did. And also me and him would train together after that point, but none of that stuff ever got filmed because that was a one-off. That was and I didn't want to mess up our friendship. trying to get videos and stuff like that. So that was a one-time thing. I took my one-time video. It got 1 million views on YouTube. I take that. That's fine. Done
That's a
after
win.
that. If he would have let me film the rest of our videos, I think it would have been insane. But
You still could though. Who knows? Is it just difficult?
All over the place right now. He's in New York. He's filming. He's doing crazy stuff right now. So we're not as close as we used to be. But for a while we were like close. But we're still friends. But yeah.
Is any of this like if you showed up and Gymshark was the initial contact for like Ashley or whomever, and then you showed up with your people and you film as well? Is it a fine line as well that if the management that gets involved is like, hey,
Who these guys?
he showed up with his own guys, and you're kind of like, shit, I don't want them going to Gymshark. Gymshark is, well, if we send Nathaniel, it could be a thing. You know what I mean? I know it's a fine line, but they probably also respect your hustle and what you're doing because that's why they signed you in the first place, is because you're an entrepreneur who can hustle.
And that video, the speed one, got 6 million views. But also, I also got to the point where I was like, you know what? I can kind of pull up to places with my own little entourage because I'm a part of this. Like this guy, every time I go to places, these guys are never by themselves. So when I put up to the speed video, I put up with my videographer and then one of my friends because it's like, I'm coming into Manchester, I'm staying overnight. I shouldn't be expected to have to do this like by myself. Like it's one of those ones. But some of the other ones, they're like, oh, no people can come. I was meant to do another one with a really big artist, but it fell through. But in those type of ones, it'll be like no one can come. But then sometimes my own managers would film the video for me because they'll obviously be allowed on the set. That Ashley Waters one, I gave the camera to my manager and he filmed it for me. So
okay,
yeah.
So it's fair. This is common then. This isn't. If you ask an influencer to show up, the influencer is going to show up with his people as well because that's how.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm like, bro, like I'm a part of this as well. So it's like I can't be expected to have to show up to all of these things in different parts of the country by myself every single one of the times. Like I would do it most of the time, but for the speed one, for example, they had no problem. And in all honesty, it helped as well because Gymshark only was taking like like Instagram type footage, and then the only other footage was the stream footage from his, which wasn't great quality. Then the only high definition, high quality footage was my footage. So
oh shit.
Yeah, so that I'm helping it as well.
And when you show up, so these are people that you hire, and what kind of equipment are they bringing? Like when you're making a video
My guy's got
yourself.
serious equipment. He's got like good cameras and mics and everything like that. Like my guy that I was using there is my friend Josh, and I brought my own guy to Worlds, my guy Ronnie, and White Lights Media was quite accommodating and etc. And White Lights is always very good, but obviously they have the monopoly as far as powerlifting. But I still always bring my own guy to this because at the end of the day, like this is my career. Like if I like my World Championships video from last year went trending on YouTube. I think that's the first powerlifting meet video I think to go trending.
It's insane.
I can't think of another one. So I'm not. So this is my job. So I'm gonna do everything I can to treat this seriously and pull up there with what I need and the guys I need. And obviously, it's taken a while to get to this point because it costs money. Like last year I had to, fly my guy over. Gymshark did actually cover that one, to be fair. But like this year, like you got to pay people and stuff like that. So I'm blessed that it takes money to make money. That's what they say. So I wouldn't have been when I was younger doing this. I was vlogging. I would have been there vlogging. When I pull up to the powerlifting meet, it would have been one of my friends just there holding my camera for me, sitting in the stands. But now I'm like, I've grown, and they also expect this from me. Like when I do a meet, people are expecting a sick YouTube video afterwards as well. And thankfully, like my recent one that I just posted, people have been saying that that's my best video. So yeah.
Well, dude, you put phenomenal content. You definitely know what you're doing. Are you editing yourself? Do you have someone else editing, or is it someone else in collaboration with you directing a little bit? Or
so my entire YouTube career, historically, pretty much I've done all the filming and editing. Late 2022, I started. Maybe one of my friends helped me a little bit, and then my camera guy that I was using at the time would help me. And then for the last 3 competition videos I've done, I've got the person who's filmed it for me to also edit it because most of them are good at filming and editing as well. And the most recent one somebody else did. So that's a little bit of transition. But like my last Worlds video that went trending, I edited that myself. I think I brought my guy, But I almost felt bad because obviously White Lights Media has the monopoly. They got all the angles and everything like that. So I got a good deal for White Lights, got all my footage, and then for the most part used my footage, but obviously used their footage, sorry. But then obviously my guys' footage obviously still good for the going up to the warm-up room and kit check, all that types of stuff. So yeah, like I just tried to make the best videos I could. And so recently that's transitioned into me hiring other people obviously to help with that. And I, for example, have a guy that makes my clips for me. So I've had some clips on like TikTok, YouTube do well, and I've got a guy now doing my shorts, like clipping up my videos, like stuff like this. You gotta pay people what they're good at. You know, I'm probably not the best editor in the world, but there's people who are. So yeah.
You know what? So first off, White Lights Media and Ramsey,
They're good guys, man.
phenomenal at what they do, and their vision for collaborations. Like they collaborated with me at Open Worlds. We were doing White Lights / King of the List podcast live.
I watched so many of those podcasts. I love those podcasts.
Thank you, dude.
The 93 one with Carlos's story was crazy. Yeah. That was crazy.
It's crazy.
I watched to be fair.
Even like the pre and post, like with the 66s, Penna in them and Jonathan Garcia and their storylines too, like Jesus before he went on, like, and this was Ramsey. This is White Lights Media who messaged me. It's funny because Ramsey was so excited about his idea. And I was like, all right, let me hear it. And my man dropped 14 fucking voice messages in a row, all of them a minute long. And I texted him back and go, my dude, we are not a girlfriend boyfriend breaking up here. Why you got 14 voice messages?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I'm like, just call me, Playboy. I'm not listening to 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So anyway,
even 2 times speed isn't saving that.
What's that, sorry?
Even if you turn the voiceness up to 2 times speed, that's still like 7 minutes of listening.
That's too much. It's too much. But the idea now, people assume you're like this. You just keep leveling up with these kind of ideas. So, anyways, White Lights Media is amazing for collaborative, and they don't stand in your way. They'll recognize opportunity like they do with you, and be like, "Yeah, 100%. Use this footage. This could go viral."
After competition, last 2, I go straight to the desk, like, "Yo, let's work something out. I need this footage now." So last year, they sent me my picture straight away that I could post because I'm like, again, everything. What I've been learning, like you have to strike where the iron is hot, essentially.
Yes.
So straight off the back of the meet, I put my post up and it usually goes crazy. You know, like I don't like waiting around because people take social media for granted and people care about things not as long as you do. So there'll be a window where everyone's talking about this and everything like that, and then that window is going to close. So you don't want to miss your moment. So I've always been I used to, and I learned this from one of my friends. I remember I went on a trip with him and we would go out, we would vlog the entire day. We would get home, start editing, be editing until the morning and then post a video the next day and then do that again. And that taught me that work ethic of like, this is how you work. So that's what I used to do after that. All the time after that, I'd film a video and then I'd be there like after school, filming it, editing it, all this stuff. And that kind of taught me the work ethic there. So and that's always what works best on social media because you can't take time for granted. So I always try to strike with the iron's hot, and White Lights Media is always very accommodating of that. And yeah.
You have to look at, I've had people, if there's a big competition coming up, you drop a preview show 2 weeks ahead of time. It's too soon ahead of time. People are still thinking about what's more relevant just happened. It's got to be the week of. The week of is when UFC, boxing have all the big specials, podcasts, and content drop, digital assets drop. The week of, because the week of that, it's the hottest. If it's too soon, too far out, timing is everything. If it's too far out from the event, don't hype it too far out. Even if you record it, then hang on to it. And there's a time when it's a fevered pitch right before. But if something's like a month out, it's too far for me to get excited about it in anything in life, including certain contents. And then after it happens, to your point, you better drop your recap then.
Yeah.
People, you cannot hang on to something. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, it's dead. I don't give a shit.
There's probably another big meet. At this point in powerlifting, someone else has probably broken another world record, probably.
We're on to the next one. Yeah, Ade, the next week. Ade in the 83s is doing his damn thing, and that's a new story. And then in a week from now, there's going to be another story. Like, we're moving. You got to go. You got to rock.
You're a big UFC fan, right?
100%.
Yeah. So like I've only just started getting to say the embedded on YouTube. So like I was the Alex Pereira one. I was watching that and I was watching all the vlogs leading up to that fight and it got me so hyped up for it. And they do it
Yes.
right. They do them daily leading up to the fight, you know, them at home, them training, then cutting weight, then the weigh-ins, then the press conference, and then it's the thing. And by the fight, I'm ready. I'm like, yo, I'm ready to go. So they do it
Yeah, I
right.
know.
Thing.
We need more of that probably in powerlifting, but it's difficult, man. Guys like you are around that fully embrace it, but and I think SBD is starting to work towards it in some other
I'm gonna give a
companies.
shout out. I'm gonna give a shout out to Barbell Coalition. Yeah, they do this very well. They're a
Mm,
coaching company in the UK, and some of my friends are the coaches for them, and so a lot of my friends are the athletes, and they are really good with the pre competition hype up and like pre-show for it. You know, Joey, this recent nationals, him versus Manson. You know, Manson that won the 83s at Worlds.
yep,
It was Joey versus Manson. They done like videos where they're like standing next to each other and
nice.
interviews and stuff. They're doing really good stuff as well, and they also work with White Lights. So yeah, shout out to them. They're doing it right in terms of that.
Dude, who does White Lights not work with? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? White Lights will work with SBD when they're at certain events. Like White Lights is like, let's if you're an up and comer, they're so collaborative and humble with it and extremely talented and belt things out like day of podcast live at Worlds. It was phenomenal, man. They have talk about work ethic and vision. But before we get into this last year, because I know we got time, we got a half hour, we got a little bit of time
yeah.
into it.
Well,
But before
I can maybe do 45
Okay,
more
okay.
minutes
Because we'll talk about this world's this year
because I don't want
as
to miss
well
this
as
this year.
what the future looks like. But doubling back 1 second with the Francis Ngannou, when you punched him in that whole when you seen him in real life and you're like, all right, punch this guy. Did you hold off on him? Like what
I punched him pretty hard and it did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I feel like I'm a fairly big guy. I weigh 200 pounds. You know, I'm not small. I'm pretty powerful, and it did nothing. So when people will like say see Anthony Joshua and maybe like if they want to like talk to him or give him some like trash talk stuff like that, I don't know if you realize what this guy could do to you. Like I
different?
don't think because you'll see him in a fight and yeah he's fighting another 6'5", 250 pounds guy, but that's not you. You're not doing what Usyk did to him. You're not doing that. So this guy
Yeah,
could pick you up and snap you in half, genuinely speaking. So
yeah.
Francis like that was an eye-opening experience in all honesty, like seeing a human that large. Because I've met even like the Stoltmans, yeah, obviously they're huge. Like Tom is like 6'8", 400 pounds, right? He's enormous. But Francis is like cut and looks a bit like a bodybuilder, and his his head is bigger than probably somebody's head should be. His hands are probably bigger than someone's head should be. It's nuts.
And why is he so damn muscular if he doesn't lift? Like he's walking around, he is crazy jacked. He weighed in for one of the boxing matches 271 pounds, ripped, diced, and he
Yeah.
barely lifts. That's
He does not know.
crazy.
No, and if you live, it's not optimal stuff. It's not. It is just. There's guys I grew up with. I'm not saying I grew up with guys like Francis Ngannou, but there's guys I grew up with who their just natural physique is what would have taken certain guys like 3-4 years of serious lifting to get up to. There is, and he's one of the few that made it out of his country and his area, and he obviously you'll know his story and stuff like that.
Yeah, phenomenal
Because the
story,
other
by the
guy,
way.
there'll be you if you talk to him, he'll say there's other Francis Ngannou's there that just haven't made it out of Cameroon.
Right.
So that's that. I mean, there's 8 million people on the planet. You got to think there's some guys who are just genuine outliers. And obviously with powerlifting, everyone's talking about the outlier talk. But as far as human beings that you just see and you're just like, yeah, this guy is a different specimen of a human. It doesn't feel like we're the same species. That's one of them.
This one, I was watching a documentary film series called Fight, and it's a guy who was going country to country and visiting these athletes in these combat sports. In Mexico, it was boxing. Boxing's huge in Mexico. Um, France, it was Savat. It's like a kickboxing French version. And then he was in, I think it was Nigeria, and they had a sport that was a combination of wrestling and boxing.
Yeah.
A variation of anyways. And it was huge there, like 50,000 people will show up for a match. And we don't even know who these guys are. Anyways, he's talking to a couple of these athletes. And a couple of these dudes were, I mean, jacked,
Yeah.
jacked. And he asked one, like they were huge. And he asked one of the dudes, like, what is your weightlifting regime for you to be like this? Like, this is crazy. And the guy goes, oh, I don't lift.
Yeah, it's
It's
nuts.
like,
It's nuts. It's nuts. Yeah, it's nuts.
you
Those guys
know,
will make you question your whole existence. They'll make you question your whole existence. It's crazy.
yeah, it's humbling to say. There are freaks walking out there that in all different sports, like a Michael Phelps, they talk about, not to get too off track here, but all of his levers in place. He was just born to swim. And there's
Exactly. The
his work
torso
ethic is
length and
yeah,
everything.
his work ethic is phenomenal.
It's a
But if
combination.
you worked as hard as him, he's going to beat you. Now, everyone else he's going against probably has the same genetics. The outliers all meet at the top, and then whoever works harder wins. Just like you talk about whoever, Francis Ngannou, he's going to have to fight other outliers himself. So then it becomes work ethic on top of that. But yeah, it's a humbling experience. That's why it's so special when someone doesn't have the genetics and still makes it, which is like, holy shit.
Like a Daniel Cormier. Like Daniel Cormier versus John Jones. Like John
God
Jones
bless.
in genetics department. Like he's
Yeah.
like what 6'4", 84-inch reach. Daniel
Yeah.
Cormier, 5'10", little chubby, short arms, and who knows, man? Who knows?
Dude, Daniel Cormier looks like everybody's dad. He
Literally,
looks cuddly and like, but he's
two-division
he whoops
champion,
some
beat
ass.
Stipe. Yeah,
I
crazy.
love how you said like Daniel Cormier because in MMA everybody styles on Cormier because he's like chubby and
Yeah, but he
but
would destroy every single one of us, and we
oh
all
yeah,
know that. That's why he can. And he's
yeah,
still in certain areas probably 100% a genetic outlier, like his work capacity, because he was obviously an Olympic wrestler, and obviously wrestling is
oh yeah.
notorious for how hard the training is. So he would have been an outlier in other ways, but in the stereotypical aesthetic outlier, he
He was
wasn't
not.
that, and he was
He
beating
was
guys who were. So
uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
100%. 100%. I got you. So, okay, going into this year's competitions from Arnold's to Worlds, let's walk through this because obviously we'll end off at the World Championship.
yeah. All right, so when was it? Maybe December. I get invited to do the UK Arnold, which is a big deal because that is a comp for the top open lifters.
Mm.
It's like a mini Sheffield money comp where it's on GL, and you had Chel Backerland, you had Mo, you had Ade, all doing that comp. So I get asked to do it, and at first I'm like, but then I'm like, you know what? I could pull this off because junior nationals was 1 week afterwards. 1 week, literally 7 days, Friday to Friday. Yeah. However, this year Nathan has aged out, and Jack Hopkins has moved up to 105. So I have more or less no competition at the national level this year. So I'm like, if there's 1 year where I want to kind of test myself, see if I can do 2 comps back-to-back weeks, this is the year. Because if this is now next year, say if I stay 93s or go to 105s or whatever, I'm going to need to be in my top shape in order to compete. But this year, I didn't have to be. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the Arnold. Okay. So I'm talking to my coach about doing the Arnold. And he's like, okay, we do the Arnold. However, we're not going all out. We're going there for a bit of a showcase and etc. So I'm like, okay. But then the thought keeps occurring to me that this is international and I can break records at this competition. And in January, I did 350 kilos in the gym. And that was only 5 kilos lower than the world record. So I'm like, you know what? I think I can break this world record. My coach is telling me, no, we're not doing it. Because juniors is next week, we're not doing it. I'm like, okay. Next week, I go to my coach. I kind of want to do it. Nope, you're not doing it. I kind of want to do it. No, don't do it. Then we get to the point where I give my coach an ultimatum. I said, I'm doing it. Okay. And he's like, fine, go on then. So we go to Arnold's, we do the competition. It goes okay for me. Hit a 2.5 kilo squat PB, matched my bench PB, and then it comes to deadlifts. I did 322.5, I did 342.5, then I go for 357.5, which I had to do because since Arnold was an open international, I couldn't specifically break a junior record as in chip.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do 355.5 because you can't chip it. So I had to do 357. Not like those 2 kilos would have mattered because I didn't get close. I got it to the knees and no further. So I go 357 and I fail, right? Gets to the knees. And this was disappointing, but not like the end of the world, because it's like the Arnold's was a low stakes competition. I knew I was never going to win that competition anyway. I'm not beating Chael Backerland on GL. It's not happening.
Yeah.
It's not happening. I'm
Yeah.
not beating Mo on GL. I'm not beating Ade on GL. It's not happening. So I was going there for a bit. It's international. That's in the UK. It's in Birmingham. It's like 2 hours from my house. Like, why not? So, and I'd never been to the Arnold actually, so it was a good experience, and it was cool going there as an athlete. I remember going to the Arnold and picking up like my athlete pass, and I just felt really cool, man. This is the Arnold,
Yeah.
and I'm an athlete here, so that was cool. So, okay, that happens, but now the next day and that week afterwards, my body is destroyed. There's something about going for a conventional deadlift max and failing it that literally just takes all the strength out of your body, and your posterior chain will not recover for that for like 2 weeks. So I try to do everything I can to recover in the next week for nationals. I get a massage. The massage lady said my lower back is inflamed, feels inflamed. I go try to do like a cold shower and sauna, and it's not working. I'm still cooked, but I go to nationals anyway. Bear in mind, my second attempt at Arnold's was 342.5. That moves good. Moved good. I go for the British record, which is 343. And so I go for 343.5, and I fail it again. So this is two back-to-back failures, one a world record, one a British record, failed in back-to-back weeks, and I was devastated. Absolutely devastated. I also failed my third squat that day. I failed my second bench that day, and I was just devastated. The only silver lining was the fact that I won. Like, I won nationals, but that meant nothing to me because I knew I was gonna win. So it was that meant nothing. So I was pretty devastated after that. And not only was I devastated, it zapped my confidence, because going into that, I kind of felt I was indestructible. I mean, even trying to do an international and then a national meet back-to-back weeks is pretty crazy, and not holding back at either one. At Arnold's, we didn't hold back. Tried to go for a world record, failed. Then tried to go for a British record the next week, failed. So this was like rock bottom as far as powerlifting, right? Obviously, there's life, but yeah. So I go in, and me and my coach also basically go back to the drawing board. So squats were like, we need more leg size. So after that, my coach put an ungodly amount of leg accessories in my plan. All right. Then we go to bench, right? At this point, my competition best bench was 177.5 kilos. We go, but I have, even though I've got really long arms and a deadlifter, I've got a big chest, good triceps. I can be a decent bencher. At Worlds, I came 14th at bench, and if I want to win this year, that can't happen. So go to drawing board for bench. I changed my form. I basically found a form that was comfortable for me to do and was consistent. Start going with that. And then in training, bear in mind my best competition bench was 177. I managed to hit 195 kilo bench within a couple of months.
Smokes.
Yeah. So my bench went crazy. And that is what allowed me to win this year. Because if I was still in the 170s, 180s, Brandon and Rico would have pushed me too far. That last deadlift would have been something crazy. So I went from 14th on bench last year to 4th this year at Worlds, which we'll obviously get to. But that is what allowed me to actually be in a position where I'm not Enna, where I'm 60 kilos behind Russ. Do you understand what I mean? So yeah, because that wasn't going to work out. I knew that. I didn't even want to do that. I didn't want to walk up to the platform with a weight on the floor that I don't think I can lift. So that's that. So yeah, and then for deadlifts, there was no major changes we need to make. All we needed to make sure was that I was continuing to gain strength. I was doing my stiff legs and etc. And I wasn't going into a comp destroyed, because going into Arnold's, I think I trained a little bit too hard going into there. And then obviously nationals, I was destroyed going into there. So I thought, okay, as long as I feel fresh, I'm a natural deadlifter. It'll be fine. So we did all of these things, and we get to lead up to Worlds now. And then we have my main challengers, which is Brandon Jones, Aiden Roda, and Rico Baden. Brandon came in, I think, at 832 nomination, and I spoke to him afterwards. His plan for Worlds was 870.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So then we got Aiden, who did 815, but he did his 815 with a failed third deadlift that it was around like 350 kilos. So he could be dangerous. He could try and pull after me. You never know. And then we had Rico, who had had a bad performance for his standards at the French nationals, but still came in with an 800, I think, 12 kilo nomination. And he's been a guy that's been around for multiple years in the juniors, and has always he's had the strength for like 850 for years now. It's just been about putting it together. Plus, he got injured last year, so he's back now.
Quickly on Rico, I can't believe he's still a junior. He was a junior like years ago. He must have been at the world level as a junior really early. And to
18
your
years old,
point,
19.
I remember him doing 818 years ago. So by now, I agree 100%. He could have been way more. He did 818 years ago when he's a young man who you would assume progress would be
Yeah,
jacking way up. But of course, injuries can put a halt to a
injuries.
lot of that.
And looking at him, he needs to be a 105, man. He's like my height and got more muscle and denser than me. There's no way he should be a 93.
Do you cut
And
a
when
lot of weight yourself? Do you cut
I
weight
cut,
to make?
yeah. So yeah, we're gonna get to that. I cut weight. I walk
Okay.
around. I was like 97 before this
Okay.
competition, so I cut weight. But I'm fairly lean, so I can cut the weight. But I'm also at the point where if I cut too much, I feel depleted. So we're gonna touch on that and what my plans are for the future. But
Okay.
but yeah, so going into this comp, I got these guys, and these guys' training is looking outrageous. Brandon basically doubled 840 something in the gym. So it's like, yo, this is gonna be crazy. And then wasn't too sure about Aiden. Rico was looking nuts, and I got he was posting his training saying the 1 to 2 blocks out of worlds, but then when it got to there, he stopped. And then I got an inside scoop from someone on his close friends that he did like
Oh,
850 in the gym. So I'm like, fuck. So anyway, but the thing about this is, I still felt like I had a clear path to success, right? Because Brandon is subtotal, and out of us guys, he's gonna pull first. So he's still gonna have to wait for me and Rico to pull to see if he can win. Rico is pretty much a total specialist, but he deadlifts less than me. So I'm still gonna have an opportunity to pull after him. And as long as I'm close enough, this pull could be within reach. But my problem was gonna be if they had pushed me too far, loading the deadlift that I wasn't able to pull. So that was what I was worried about. But let's get to worlds now. So the weight cut, as I said, I was about 97 kilos, 96, 97 through prep. Then I cut to like 95.8 and then water and gut cut, but I didn't do my gut cut protocol right. I think I didn't eat enough food and I felt like pretty depleted. And I was like 93.7 the morning of comp. Then when I weigh in is at 5. And then I dropped the rest of the rate throughout that day. I didn't have to sauna, but it took it out of my legs. So my plan coming into the comp was to squat 300 plus, and that did not happen. But is what it is. So we get to the comp now, and there was actually this really cool moment before weigh-ins where in a room before we weigh in, the only 93s in the room was me, Rico, Brandon, and Aiden, and we're all just sitting there with our headphones on. I was talking to my girlfriend. It felt like such an intense moment. Like we're actually about to go out and do battle. And for whatever reason, it was only us four in that room. It was only us
crazy.
four. It's like we knew that. So, and Rico's a really friendly guy, a really nice guy, but I wasn't really trying to talk to these guys like that at that point. Because I'm like, and then even Brandon was super locked in, but he came over to me at one point before we were about to lift and was like, oh, I just want to say like good luck to this kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, good. Like, same. I was like, yeah, we'll talk afterwards. Because I'm a friendly guy myself, but I just felt like I need to go out there and try to kill these guys. So I don't want to talk to you right now. Like I kind of wanted to talk to them, but I thought it was best to not. So we go out there now, and so in the competition. So bear in mind, Brandon had scored like 325 in training, but I thought that he was actually not gonna be primed for squats because his 1 week out looked hard. I don't think you and doing a hard 1 week out can sometimes lead to not the best performance on the platform. So yeah, he does that and he misses his third squat. So he misses 317. So he's left with 310. Bear in mind, he's like a 325 squatter, all right? Now, Rico misses his second squat, which on depth, which was a harsh call. It was a harsh call, in all honesty. They has to retake it, and he gets it. So I get 292, which was the grind of my absolute life. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen my squat from
I
Worlds?
did. And just to let people know, you left squats, you grinded 292.5. These fellas, Brandon got 310, Rico got 305. So at this point in time, now you're the bigger deadlifter for sure. But viewership wise, if you're watching and you were expecting maybe over 300, these fellows are over 300. The top, four underneath you are over 300. You're grinding out 292.5. Viewership wise, it's like, oh shit, where's your confidence at?
I was like, I'm gonna win this meet now. That gave me confidence because
Really?
I didn't miss. So I didn't
That's
lose any kilos. I lost off of what I thought I was going to get, but I didn't
right.
miss. So now Brandon is not as far ahead of me as I thought he was going to be, and neither is Rico. So I'm like, my bench has come a long way. I'm not going to be masses behind them on bench. Maybe Brandon, yeah, but I wasn't masses behind Rico. And then deadlifts, it's my time. So after that, my thoughts after this third squat was, I'm going to fucking win. So I was in a completely different headspace to probably the normal people watching it. That was just where I was at. So now we get to bench. And this was the first time using the new Eleiko bench pad, which was a little different, but it was fine. It wasn't anything crazy. Some people liked it, some people really didn't, but is what it was. And my bench had come so far that I opened above my competition max. My competition max was 177. I opened with 180. So do 180 moves good, do 187 moves good, do 192.5 15 kilo competition PB, and it also moves good. I probably had another 2.5. And Rico benches 200, Brandon benches 210 or 210. All right, it's 210. So I'm 35 kilos behind Brandon and 20 kilos behind Rico, which sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot, right?
Right.
But you got to think, Enna has beat people that he's like 55 kilos behind.
Correct.
So when you got that last deadlift, man, it's in your hands. And I knew.
God bless.
So my minimum going into this competition was the world record, 356. I knew. And my max, I'd say, was 360. Now, we'll get to the pull, but off of that last pull, what do you think I had on that day? Because I honestly felt like that 360 was so fast.
Well, here's the thing. In sports, it means a lot when you have this kind of momentum. Like, for instance, at world championships, historically speaking, Jurgens he was never hitting that high in terms of deadlifts. But there was something weird when he walked out for that last deadlift to beat Russ for the world title. You just knew. And even Russ said, if they gave me that third squat on that day, Jurgens would have pulled whatever he needed to pull. It wouldn't have mattered because people like, what if Russ got that third squat they overruled? And for you, when you came out to that third deadlift, and you like afterwards, you're hitting that backflip and you have more in the tank, obviously, right? It just felt like it wouldn't have mattered. You would have pulled what you needed to pull on that day. You just had this sense, oh, it's
my
Nathaniel's.
Day. It was my day.
On that day, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah. So deadlifts now. So the story for deadlifts is the fact that I do my 270 warm up, not my last warm up, second to last warm up, and my whole body seizes up and cramps. I've got a video of it, and it looks bad. You can see my quad squeeze in. You know when you probably see a cramp, and it looked like I had torn a hamstring. Callie Johansson was behind me sitting down. He's looking over like, what's going on? My coach is looking at me like, what's going on? And I'm hobbling around the place. Turns out it was just really bad cramps, right? So my coach is massaging vapor rub into me, starting to feel a little bit better. But then I was still a little bit hesitant on my 300 last warm-up and into my 320 first attempt because I did this really explosively. And I feel like if I was to shift my legs into the ground like that, I'll cramp. So I do my first attempt 320. So I'm the last guy out for deadlift, which is good. Obviously, Aiden was the only guy that can maybe push me there, and he wasn't having a good day. So I'm the last guy out. 320 moves good. All right. Then the second was going to be to push in kind of position and stuff like that. So my second, they put to 347. I think that pushed me into second place. So I was third before that, pushed me to second place. And that also moves good. But when I walked out for that 347, I shout. And when I shout, my lat cramped. You can see, if you go back and watch my YouTube video, I shout and then I do this because my lat cramped, right? So I do that 347.
That was posturing. I thought you were just posturing.
No, my lat had cramped and I was trying to wiggle it off, on the platform. Shit. So I do that 347 with a cramped lat, Go back into the warm-up room and my lat starts non-stop cramping, non-stop, and I'm panicking. I'm going to my coach, Owen, it's not stopping, Owen, it's not stopping. So he's like trying to massage it, trying to massage stuff into it, etc. And then, but prior to this, even in deadlift as a whole, I just felt this calmness come over me and this confidence. I don't know how to explain it. I just felt like it was my moment. And I had, you know, when you see that backflip, I had dreamed of that moment for so long and I had requirements. I said, if I break the world record and become world champion, I'm doing the backflip. Now, I
Oh
was
yeah.
going to do the back. If I got the world record at Arnold's, I was going to do it, but I didn't. So it got saved. I had to save it. So
This is better.
yeah, so way better.
Yeah.
So we go for the 360. So no, so Rico, so Brandon gets his last pull, 325. So he's at 845. He's got to wait and see what we're gonna do. All right. Rico goes for, was it 337?
342.5.
342.5. There we go. And he goes, he pulls it, but people that say it, I heard that people said it was a harsh call. I went back and watched it. In my opinion, it was not harsh at all. He supported on the thighs. And that's the thing when you're asked to pull a really heavy pull and it's sumo. Anything can kind of happen. It's a lot less dependable than conventional. So he goes, he doesn't get it. And do you know what? I wish he actually got it. Because if he got it, I would have to pull 363 to win, and that's 800 pounds.
Yeah.
That would have been nice.
Yeah,
That would have been a nice round number. But anyways, he doesn't get it. But the only thing I think is that maybe if he pulled that, I would have got scared just because it's 800 pounds and maybe been different. But after that happened, 360.5 was on the bar. That's 5 kilos over the current world record. And then prior to this competition, I said that I wanted to have fun and I wanted to be present. Like, because the Arnold was a big learning moment for me because I was there with the guys like Mo and all those guys who were seasoned lifters, and they were able to posture to the crowd. They were able to have fun, and I wasn't there yet. I was nervous. I just had to walk on the platform, do my lift, and I walked off. Like I wasn't there yet. But this meet, I wanted to have fun because nothing in life is guaranteed. This could be my last world. Who knows? You know, I want to enjoy this moment and everything that comes with it. So they put 360.5 on the bar, and where Worlds was being held, you want to talk about how this Worlds was, it was a great actually arena where it was being held. They had seating upstairs and the lights are coming in, so I can't see anyone really, and it's just screams and no faces. And I come out and I'm actually more proud of that fact that I was able to have the composure to kind of jest to the crowd before my deadlift than I even am always of the deadlift or the backflip.
Why is that?
The fact that I had, I feel like the composure to do that in that moment. When I watch the video, because I've watched my video back like maybe 2 million times by this point, I get the most chills when I come out and I do that. That's what does it for me, because it's like I'm going into the biggest moment of my life and I'm able to just like, do you know what I mean? That was crazy for me. So I go out there and I just felt like I needed to be calm. I didn't feel like I needed to really hype myself up. There was no shouting. There was no screaming. There was no slapping myself in the face. I just walked up to there and I pulled it. And it honestly, if 370 was on the bar, it might have moved. Like honestly, that was, as you said, that was just felt like my moment. I remember watching Duran's last deadlift and that moment and how effortless that 350 looked. And it's like, how is that? That's above his max. Like he's never done this before. How has it moved like that? But that moment, honestly, and it's also when Brandon was talking to me about it as well afterwards, the crowd was just on my side. Like there is a little bit of anti-American bias, I would say, at some of these internationals. And Brandon was talking about it. And he said to me, he went to hype up the crowd and he heard basically no one. Like, look at the reaction of Russ's third deadlift compared to Duran's. It was just the Brits and other countries, maybe, I think they came out and they supported. So I do that. The crowd goes wild and do the deadlift. I don't even celebrate first. I look at the lights, belt comes off, backflip. And as my coach didn't even know I was going to do that backflip. He said it happened for him in slow motion because he's just like, what is happening? What is actually going on? And someone sent me a video and you can probably hear the crowd noise. When I do the deadlift, people like stop screaming for a minute because they're like, and then as I landed, they literally, everyone like paused for a moment while I was midair because I'm the only one that, me and Manson, maybe a couple of people knew I was going to do this, but no one else knew I was going to do that. So everyone like just paused for a minute. And that was honestly like probably the best moment of my life, in all honesty, because I dreamed about that moment so much, and so much delayed gratification. I thought about this for so long every time I'm training, and the fact that it actually played out and everything, all my opponents' lifts and miss lifts and my lifts, because also if I had have squatted 300 and they did the same, I would have only had to pull 350, 355, which is 0.5 kilos under the world record. And I know what my coaches are like. They're not loading 356, an extra kilo, just for the wet
Of course
record.
not.
You need
Yeah.
355 to win. So if I would have done better, I would have been able to have that moment. So everything worked out, and it just felt like it was just my moment. And honestly, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. And if I never win another thing or nothing else happens, not that I'll be happy, but like no one will be able to take that away from me, because that's one of my like dreams. So yeah,
It's crazy. That's a great way of looking at that. If you had everything you wanted, like that squat, it wouldn't have led to the bigger moment later.
exactly.
You needed to have a grinder 292 as
Yeah,
opposed to getting over 3. It wouldn't have been the same. Even missing those lifts at Arnold and then the Nationals,
exactly.
it sets the
I just
stage.
posted. I just posted like a thing of my miss lifts there, me getting at Worlds, and it's going absolutely viral on Instagram. It's probably on like 75,000 likes right now. It's like it's going insane
Wow.
because everybody loves a comeback story. Like
Right.
because my caption that was never give up, and what I was talking about afterwards in my YouTube video was the fact that sports are kind of like a microcosm for life. Like in that moment in sports, and you're seeing somebody overcome something, that shows you in whatever you're doing in your life that you can overcome that. And that's what resonates with people. You know, the story of someone who's incredibly gifted and never has to go through any adversity doesn't any movie you watch, the hero has to go through something in order for it to be a compelling story. And me going through that at honors, like prior to that moment, I'd had nothing. Okay, cool. I came third at nationals, but I still got to go to Worlds, still got to go to Euros. I go to my first ever Worlds. I placed 5 places higher than I was nominated. I go to my first ever Euros. I win. There's no law. There's no like story attached to that. Versus now, I posted a video of my 2 fails back around when I did them, and the video of me like lying on the floor, and I almost knew when I posted that I was gonna come back from it and have a moment like this. And so for it to actually play out, it's no words. I mean, this is why people love powerlifting. And a bunch of my friends from home came down with me to Malta to watch this, and they've never properly watched a powerlifting comp before. They said to me like, "Okay, now I understand powerlifting." Like, I don't think it's a stretch to say that was probably the best session of Junior Worlds, and the ending, like, it was crazy, man.
It's it's like a metaphor for life too. Like sports in general are. That's why people gravitate towards sports and sports stories. And earlier I said, joking around, like you're playing life on God mode because you have all these boxes checked for you, God
Yeah,
bless. But on the flip side, you're really not. And if we actually played life on God mode where you never lose, nobody likes actually playing video games. They have like God mode where you can't you get shot and your meter doesn't go down. You're just
yeah,
invincible on everything. It would be boring. You don't play video games like that because it ruins it. You
yeah,
In life, the bitter makes the sweet sweet. Worlds wouldn't have meant what it meant if you hadn't have been missing that final deadlift. And then when you go out for that final deadlift, even though you had missed lighter the exact same year, lighter weight, and you were missing it, when you walked out to that final deadlift to win the world title, and you do that with your hands, and it's like, you have
yeah,
confidence. When someone has confidence, despite the fact that everybody would understand if you didn't. When you have
yeah,
confidence in a moment where you could be setting yourself up to about to miss, and yet you act like that, and it's like the American 100-meter sprinter who like literally he had the lighter, or sorry, the lighter, I'm using powerlifting terms. He had the slower 100-meter going into the finals. He
no
wasn't
allows.
supposed to win. What?
Yeah,
Yes, no allows. And the Jamaican, I forget his name, actually had a faster pace.
yeah,
And nevertheless, despite the fact that the odds might not have been in his favor, if you've seen footage when they were calling him all out and he hit the track, he's dancing around with his
jumping
arms
up
up
in the
like,
air.
here I
Yeah,
am. Here I
yeah,
am. And it's like it's awe inspiring because it's like if you miss, what does that look like? And it's like, I'm not going to miss. Don't worry. It's
Yeah.
that confidence when people watch, are like, fuck, man, if I could be that guy for a minute.
And that's so people. I did Sabado Sessions podcast this morning actually, and Espin asked me, he was like, "Do you just not feel pressure? You don't feel pressure?" And I'm like, "No." Like, if you were to ask people looking at me during Worlds this year, they would say like, "This is the calmest Nathaniel's been here," etc. That was on the outside. On the inside, I was a mess. Like I was so that like usually the pre-comp jitters is more just the night before, but this is from like a week out. I'm getting it because I'm sitting in bed and we're talking about the struggle and everything like that. Doing this as well in the midst of a three-way battle with three guys, just for some perspective, Nathan won Worlds last year with 810 kilos. Brandon came second with 845. So this is the level that it's increased within this year. Bear in mind, it's a three-way battle. So doing that then, I remember sitting at home in my bed a week out from comp. And it's like, it almost wakes up. I'm like, bro, what if I come fourth? Like, people stopping me in the gym are like, you're going to win. Da, da, da. And I'm like, brother, I'm fourth in nominations.
Why not podium?
There's no, three guys have totaled more than me. So, do you know what I'm saying? So, and that's the thing as well about my platform is that I might be, the Cranon was talking about this as well, I think, because she kind of goes to, and like will explain powerlifting some of our followers, because I might be the only powerlifter that some of my followers follow because they follow me for me. So these guys don't know powerlifting, so they just see me and automatically assume there can't be anyone stronger. And I'm like, there are. And I would say I was not the strongest 93 that day. And just like how, like, because you know when last year when Jurens came sixth at Worlds, he was saying he was actually the strongest 83 that day. But that's not what matters. What matters is execution. And Brandon missed the squat, Rico missed the squat, Rico missed the deadlift. I go 9 for 9. That's what happens. And I had the most faith in myself being able to do that because I've been tested on the international stage where Brandon hadn't been yet. And then also, I knew that it was going to come down to me. And yes, that's the pressure, but it's also a privilege. And yeah.
In terms of when you show up and you feel the way you feel and you still execute, that's inspiring. But when people come on here and they're like, I didn't feel anything, no pressure, I didn't. Well, it's like, well, what's inspiring about that? There's no bravery.
No,
It's only brave if you felt like you wanted to curl up. It's only brave if you had to face your fears and master them. That's brave. That's courageous.
Does everyone feel the same way about squats? Because squats make me want to run and hide to my mother. Like, I am so scared of squats. Like, a heavy, because think about it, take away spotters, yeah? I feel like evolutionarily speaking, if you have a heavy weight on your back and you're trying to get up, if you fail, you die.
Correct.
So when I'm doing, so I bench does not scare me. Deadlifts don't even scare me because what's the worst happens? I drop it. That's it. But squats, man. And even when I did that last squat, it was like an outer body experience in the sense that it felt like those 4 seconds felt like 10 years. And I grinded a squat once before, but now I know I can grind. Now I know that. And
the end of that
so
squat, I think one gray just came out of your beard. Just one gray just popped out
I've
by
got
the end of
grays already, man. I'm getting more. I'm telling you, I'm getting
just
more.
from that squat.
Yeah, my friends always joke about it. Like they'll be like, "Yeah, like how many years did that take off your life, Nathaniel?" Like they'll say stuff like that.
Worth it.
Yeah, no, literally. But yeah, like yeah, I'd be an absolute liar if I came in here and I told you I didn't feel the pressure. I didn't get nervous because I'm actually quite neurotic, personality wise. I think about things a lot. Something could happen. I think about it for the whole day. Like that's me. I'm not low. I'm not low in neuroticism. So, but that can be a privilege as well because you don't let things go. You think about things, and it can almost protect you from certain things because you run through every single possible outcome in your head, which can be a bad thing because you're trying to go to sleep and you're running through every possible situation, but it can be a good thing because it prepares you. So
right, I'm the same way. I lose sleep, dog. I'm a terrible sleeper. On the flip side, ever so ready when things go off. Never so ready because I've already envisioned it.
Exactly.
what about the future? I'm gonna let you go soon because I know we're already running past time. Just
Yeah.
real quickly though, I do want to get, what does the future look like for you? You're a 93, you cut to 93, you're a young man. The immediate future, obviously, you got one more year in the juniors, but the 93s are so flipping hot. However, moving forward, I don't know. What are you envisioning?
I think the future is 105. I think the future is 105. Reason being is that I'm a taller 93. I am probably not fully filled out muscle wise yet. And when I look at, so you know, you're saying like, okay, I did 845.5. Gustav won this year worlds with what, 895, right?
Sure.
50 kilos, yeah, cool. However, by the time I think I get there, those guys are going to be on, say, like 920. And in terms of the fact that I've been a 93 for my entire powerlifting career and cut to 93 every single, my first ever competition, I had to do a little cut for. Probably not massive. I overdid it. I ended up weighing in at 91, but I was over 93 going into that competition. And that's what it's been for my entire powerlifting career. And I just think that if you look at Nonso, yeah, Nonso was a 105. And as he's moved to young 120s as a young man and grown into it, his potential has increased. So I just think that with my frame, and I think I've got some more muscle to gain in, etc. I think 120, 105 to be the move for me, especially if I want to continue being competitive at the open level. And because that's what I want to do. I want to be one of the top open guys soon. And I know obviously I don't have to be in a rush to get there because I'm still a junior, but I'm a competitor, so I always want to get to that next level. So I think in order for me to do that, I think it's 105s.
You won the 93 world title as a junior. Check that box. Does it entice you for your final year as a junior to try to back repeat it? Or are you thinking, I got one, I might as well move to 105 now as a junior? So by the time I'm in the open, I've at least had a year of growth as a 105. And or what do you think?
I think the decisions to stay 93 would be more ego related. I think if you were to look at it purely analytical and my powerlifting career in the future, the logical decision is to move up to 105s. Because also, I feel like when you start getting to the limits of your weight class and over, and you're also quite lean, you actually risk almost regression. Because if you talk to Joey, right? So he did 772 at Euros, trained all up to nationals. Some things go wrong in his training, yes, does 745. And that bit of regression was enough for him to say, you know what, forget this. I'm moving to 93s. And now, even just based off his training, he's looking like a scary 93. He's already done 835 in the gym.
Holy
So,
shit.
yeah, Joey did 835 in the gym. He squatted 300, he benched 195, and he deadlifted 340, albeit not fully legally. That 340 still needs to sort out his hitching, but he did it.
Right.
So the whole saga next year, especially because me and Joey are friends and we have a group of friends, so it was always like Nate versus Joey for next year. But after I won Worlds, even those guys that usually give me a hard time about that were like, bro, just move up, man, because it would be ego just on the Joey versus Nate thing. It would also be ego with Brandon. I went to dinner. I had Brandon over at my Airbnb the next day, and then we went to dinner. And I don't feel like he didn't want me to move up because he wants to run it back. He desperately wants to run it back. I feel like rightfully so, because Worlds was just my day, and next year could be another person's day. But I just think the best decision for me, take ego out of it, would be 105s. And also there would be no shame in losing to Regan, let's say, next year, who's already, forget fully filled out 105, probably one of the biggest junior 105s I've ever seen. You see the size
He's
of
massive.
Regan?
He's massive.
Outrageous. So we'll see where I get to, but I think, because I know in the open it's gonna have to be. I don't want to do what Christian and these guys are doing, sitting in the sauna for 4 hours before competition. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. That makes the sport not fun for me. Even this little cut I had to do for this comp was it was hard, man. It was hard. And if I don't, but where, and you look at Gavin, you look at Keiko, those guys are what, 5'5"?
Yeah. In Tim's.
And they're dense, they're filled out, they got a
Oh,
cushion
yeah,
around their
dude. There is Gavin is as thick as a house, my friend.
Yeah,
He's as
exactly.
thick as a house.
And that's what you want me to go against. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
about that. Not even from a like I'm scared perspective, but just purely analytical. 105s, I think makes more sense for my. I've got an extremely long frame. On camera, I was speaking to Petrie yesterday. He goes to me, "Oh, what? So, are you 6 foot or 6'1"?" I'm like, "Brother, I'm just under 5'10". I look a lot taller on camera because my arms, my arms are longer than Nonso's. My arms are longer than Nonso's and they're longer than Joey's. So even among deadlifters, I've got ridiculously long arms. And same with my legs. My legs are crazy long as well. So this is all just frame that needs filling. And it's not the same as if I was say like a 5'7", 97 kilo where I'm fully filled out. I'm probably not going to gain much more size. If I gain weight, it's going to be fat. I'm not at that point yet. I'm still lean. I still got a six pack. I can gain a bit. So that's what I think I'm going to do.
First off, I wish powerlifting showed like wingspan, like boxing and MMA, because I love hearing like the wingspan, the height, the whole
Yeah,
nine. So then
that
it
would be
gives a little
sick.
perspective. That's a cool stat that you
Yeah.
actually have longer arms than Nonzo. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And he's 6'3", and I'm
Yeah,
just under 5'10".
that's wild. That's why you're the deadlifter that you are, right? But
Yeah,
I love a stat like that.
yeah. No,
Um,
it gets interesting because like me and him will go there and we'll like reach our arms out, and mine are literally longer. You can ask him. So it's
the
crazy.
fucking wildest. And
Yeah,
also, so 100%, if you're going to do this jump up to 105, the first year is grace. Nobody's expecting like, you're going to win the 105s because the difference between 93 and 105 is a huge jump. 12
12 kilos.
kilos?
Yeah, that's a
12
lot.
kilos, that's 25 pounds of body weight. Nobody's going to say in your first year you should have 25 pounds on your body and be winning. So you just do whatever you're going to do and move up. And in terms of those other rematches and clashes, that's for them. You can leave on a high note. For you, and you got to look after you, close the door, leave on a high note, be like, I've already reached the pinnacle. What am I going to do it all over? Let's open a new book. And in terms of content creation, the bulk and
100.
the
That would be
PRs
sick.
you're going to hit,
Bro, it'd be
people love
sick.
it.
I'm so ready because even with Joey, that's been crazy for him because I remember even before he even got heavy, because he did Euro Muscle Show and he he almost weighed over the 93 kilo limit. Bear in mind, months before he was an
He went,
83 kilo lifter.
it's
Yeah,
jacked.
you know what he was doing? He was eating whole packs of pasta for dinner with meat. That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
That's why he got so heavy. So
Yeah.
yeah, but even prior to that, even just after that, he was just eating normally and training, not restricted. It's like he feels every session feels amazing. His pumps,
Mm.
everything like that. So I'm looking forward to that in all honesty, because I haven't properly had that since I ever started powerlifting. I've been able to gain, like, for example, leading up to Arnold's, I was about 94. So I gained like 2-3 kilos in the last couple of months, but that's still not the same. But 96 is around where I usually sat out before that. That's where I was before Euros. I lost weight going into Arnold's. So getting up to even, I want to do nationals next year at like 100, let's say, because
Mm.
I'm already 96, 97, 3 kilos by next March. I want to do at 100, and I should still win. But I want to see, because I don't want to get like with Bob, he sets like goals for like each kilo of body weight, and only when he's hit that, then he moves up a kilo. Because now he's only like what 107. So I want to not say I'm going to do exactly that, but I don't see myself prior to Worlds. Maybe in Worlds, I might do a little mini turbo bulk just to try beat Regan. But prior to that, I don't see myself getting heavier than like 100. I still want abs. I still want abs. So
Oh, dude, keep the abs. It's going to help for the social media. And you could use the Bob Matthews taglines. Don't get clapped by a 93.
exactly. Because imagine, because I wrote some numbers down on my phone, right? I wrote down 320, 210, 380. That's what I want next year. That's 910. That's more than Regan did this year.
Yes, it
Obviously, he's
is.
gonna progress. Obviously, he's going to progress. But I wrote
Right.
those down. Imagine if I was able to, say, beat Regan next year at like 101 kilos. That would be
It'd be
outrageous. Now,
huge.
he was best overall lift at World. Crazy task. But
Right.
you got to have something to work towards. So,
100%. Why not? It's not
yeah.
crazy. It's not
Yeah, I
crazy.
think I can do it, man. I wrote it down in my notes on my phone. It's there. It's in writing. That's what I'm going to work towards.
I tell you right now, you're doing the same thing when you walked out to the deadlift and called for the crowd. You're not afraid to call your shot. And
I
that's the
say,
scariest. You're calling your shots, which I love. Second off, this is far more exciting for me to hear than a rematch against guys you already faced. And you won in leaving on the high note. You'll never get better than
no,
a world record deadlift for the world title on that year. Like, it doesn't get no sweeter.
no, you can't.
Move on to a new challenge.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. So I've spoke about this briefly with my coach, and I've done 2 podcasts basically saying I'm gonna do it. So me and him gonna sit down and have a
Yeah,
proper conversation about
yeah.
this.
Your coach is like, well, you went on every fucking podcast and said you're doing
Yeah,
it. It's over now.
I'm gonna get it after this, man. I'm gonna get it. But he already knows what I'm doing. He knows that what's happening, and he's okay with it.
It is what it
So
is. Listen, man, I appreciate you coming on. We ran 20 minutes longer than you said you had, and I appreciate you giving me the extra time, dude. Stay in touch. We got to do this again because this is
100%,
easy. And
100%.
let's keep contact, man. I'm excited for the future. And good
Thanks
luck
for
on
having
all the
me, man.
training.
I had a really good time, man. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Listen, for everyone listening, please do subscribe as per usual. Give us high ratings. And until next time, six pack Lapadat, six up, and we are out.